Want help to grow your business? Download Bryn, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit bryn.ai or search the App Store today.
Hi, I'm Dale Beaumont and welcome to Secrets Exposed. This is a show that takes you up close and personal with world-leading business experts. And our topic for this interview is the Getting Started Guide to Manufacturing a Product. That coming up in just a moment. My special guest today is international entrepreneur Scott Bucock, and he's going to be talking about the Getting Started Guide to Manufacturing a Product. He's here in the studio right now, and he's created an incredible product that is now going all over the world. And in these next 12 months, this product will sell 53 million units. And what we're going to do is talk to him about how he was able to take this idea out of his head, turn it into reality, and make it a raging success all over the world. Scott, welcome.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Now, we're going to be talking all about manufacturing and how to take a product and how to turn it into reality. Sure. We've done another interview where we're talking about the actual story of your company and all the success that you've had. The company is called Heggs, which is, do you want to tell people very quickly what it is in case they're entering into this interview first? Sure. And then we'll start to transition to talk about manufacturing.
Absolutely. Isn't it amazing just what you said there? 53 million of these little things, isn't it? Yeah, the story started very simply by hanging up my wife's black dress. I lifted it out of the washing. I looked at it. I thought, how am I actually going to hang this up without any line marks, without any peg marks, without any sun marks? You got to remember, pegs are used worldwide. And so by holding this...
probably more pegs than nearly anything else in their home, right?
Yeah, exactly. You think about how many there are in the world. And I sat there thinking to myself, I looked up at the line and there was pegs all over, and I thought, how am I going to hang it up? And I went, if there was a hook on that peg, I could actually just hang it up by the spaghetti straps. And that was sort of it. And I went, oh, someone must have done that. There has to be. But 4 months goes past, and every time I went out there, I realised that all my other garments, or 40% of the washing, had either straps on it, had hooks on it, it had where your belts go through and your business pants, and we could actually hook it up instead of pegging it up. And that's where the idea formed, and then it turned into, it's all started from there, I should say.
Fantastic. Now, there's lots of people that are watching this that have an idea. Yes. Maybe they secretly would love to invent something, but they've got an idea. Yeah. Once you have an idea, what do you do next?
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of people do want to invent something, but I actually suggest innovating something.
Tell me what you mean by that.
Well, 99% of the world innovate on a constant daily basis. They're in their work, they want to make it better. They're outside using the pitchfork and they want to make it better.
So you didn't invent the peg?
No, that's right. I've innovated the peg, not invented the peg. But the difference is I've innovated the peg, but I've invented the word Hegg, because Hegg didn't actually exist before. So you've got to understand the difference, because a lot of people think about inventing all the time, whereas innovating is really where you should be focusing on, because we can constantly make things better. But with the ideas, yeah, I get about 2 or 3 inventors and entrepreneurs a day approach me on saying, how did you do it? How did you do it? And I think they're probably missing the point. The point really is, why did I do it?
Explain that to me. So before you kind of go into, let's go out and get it manufactured, or let's do the sale price, or let's do a prototype, before any of that. Sure. What do you do?
Yeah, well, a lot of people think about the how, and then they go, oh, I want to do it, I have an idea. But then you got to remember, why have you had the idea? It's because you had a problem. And what is that problem? And then they have to think about why they actually came up with the idea in the first place. So why did I want to do it? Why did I want to do this? Is I wanted to solve my problem. And my problem was the peg marks, the line marks, and the sun marks. Why do these inventors and entrepreneurs want to make their product? Is because they have a problem. Now, the question is it just your problem? Or is it actually a problem that could be scalable, marketable, and sell around the world? And that's what you need to ask, because a lot of people think they've got the best idea in the world. And I probably did the same. But then I had to think, is it just something that was going to suit me, or would people buy it from around the world?
And how do you actually work that out, apart from just being ultra optimistic and going, yeah, everybody's going to love this? How do you really know that there is going to be demand at scale and it's going to be global?
Well, you don't, I guess, is the simple answer, but you have to do your research. And my research was, as I sort of said a minute ago, that everyone has pegs. There's more pegs in everyone's houses around the world than there is probably anything else.
That was pretty obvious.
That was pretty obvious. So putting the hooks on it, and then I realised, well, if I could educate the market to say 40% of your washing can be hooked up and not pegged up, then I know there's an actual market. Same with everyone's idea. When they come up with it, it's not about educating them on just the idea they have. It's, will it make a difference for them? And then I did my research based around it and started to talk to various people, use your network, and they said, well, that's a great idea. Someone has to have done that. And then I did all my research to find out no one had actually put a hook on a peg anywhere.
Now, we're going to be talking a lot more about manufacturing coming up soon, but you said you get 3 or 4 people a day,
Yes.
you know, that are frustrated inventors that say, how did you do it?
Yeah.
What do you wish you could tell them in terms of just getting their mindset right, their thinking right from the very beginning?
It's about the sale. It's all about the sale. The how to make the items is very easy. In Australia, there's probably 400 different mechanisms to show you how to make something, but there's not one to how to sell it. So you've got to start thinking about that side from the very, very beginning. Mine was simply, I wanted to take the H from the hook and the EG from the peg and call it a HEG. That way,
why did you brand it, and why did you just call it, it's a peg, you know, and yours just happened to have a hook on it,
Yep.
and just put it with all the other ones? Why the obsession around creating this new term?
I needed people to understand that when they actually go to ask for a HEG, they're going to end up with a peg with a hook. It's the same thing with a new idea. Someone will come up with an idea. They need to make sure that when they come up with it, they associate the name with the item itself or what it's going to do. By just calling this a flugel binder, for example, doesn't really give them what it actually is. So eventually, and in Australia it's happening right now, people say, pass me a HEG, and they know they're getting a peg with a hook. It's crucial to when you come up with these ideas to realise that you've got to sell it. And how are you going to sell it? And who, most importantly, is going to tell their friends and family about it? If you called it something they can't remember, or if you called it something they can't spell, then how are you going to get that market? How are you actually going to get people to talk about your product?
All right.
It's very important.
Fantastic. Now, let's talk about the research phase. How do people go about doing research to see if their idea has legs?
There's lots of different ways. The obvious one is, does it exist anywhere in the world? And that's just a Google search
So
or an online
exist?
search. Does it exist? But then you can go into the Google patents.
And if it does exist, what happens?
You've got a question. You've got to question whether you want to do it just in your country or whether you want to take it and scale it and make it international. If you want to make it international, you have to look at, if it does exist, start researching where it does exist. You know, is it just an item that they've done and created in their own country? And
Let's just say it just is in Scotland, for example.
Yes.
And it's a product and it's someone's created it there on a small scale.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not an advocate of copying. I think it's not the way to go. But if it's just in Scotland and they've just done it in Scotland, they've probably done that for a reason, because it might be an idea that involves the cold, or it could be an idea that involves the language or the culture. If you come up with the same idea and you want to take it international and they don't have the patents internationally, then why not? You know, I go, they obviously didn't do it for a reason. It's the same with the HEG. If you go on and you check my patents and you want to take it to a country that I haven't patented, well then, you know, you're allowed to do that.
So you see if it exists or not. If it does exist, then you check out whether they have a patent. How do you do that?
A few different ways. IP patent attorneys can do that fairly quickly for you. Of course, that costs. And I know all inventors don't have much cash in the bank, usually, to begin with. So Google Patents is a great way to start. If you type in Google Patents and just go back to layman's term English, pegs with hooks, and it'll come up with all the different lodgements of people from all over the world of pegs with hooks. And you have to try a few different words. You could put fasteners or latches, or you've got to try a few different English words to be able to find out if it exists. But that's step one. But patent attorneys are the best one, because they can do a really good, thorough search for you.
So if they come back and they say, hey, look, it's all clear,
Yep.
What do you do then?
All clear in the way of that it doesn't exist?
Yeah, it doesn't exist, and you know, it looks like it's a bit of a blue ocean.
Yeah. Well, if it's a product, it's pretty easy. You go to a product design engineer, sit down with them and get it out of here. I mean, a lot of people do it on paper. They'll draw their own little designs. But you've got to remember, if I design this and I do my little drawing and it gets submitted as a patent and then it becomes a full-on lodged patent around the world, and someone comes back and does something slightly different, is my drawing good enough? Is it to scale? Does it list all the features? So there's a whole list of areas that you need to make sure you cover off. So I suggest just doing a drawing to take to the design engineer. But once you sit there with them, you'll get the real drawing that you submit for your patents. I can't stress that enough, because you only get one crack at this. Your first application is your final application. You don't get to change these things much. So once you patent it worldwide, it needs to be what it is.
So before you just get excited and submit something,
yes,
get the product spec'd up first.
Yep.
And you're saying use professional for this. What are they called, and how do you find this person?
Sure. A product design engineer is simply that. They're going to sit down with you and they're going to get it out of your head and they're going to put it on paper. They're going to talk to you as well, because I could sit there and say, I want the hinge up here and I want the big thing and I want that and the hooks and it's got to have... But they'll come back with questions, and for example, they may come back and say, have you thought of hooks on both sides? Have you thought of the hinge being thinner so it doesn't break? Have you thought of... They're industrial engineers. They're going to sit there and really work out what you want and how it's best.
To continue enjoying this presentation, download Brin, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit Brin.ai or search the App Store today.